Hey, Piero. I think we agree almost entirely that I want to hold on to this word metaphysics because I think it points to um, an important activity, that being thinking or questioning existence because we are in awe of it or um, in wonder uh, all the time because it's so strange. It's so, um, seemingly at first unexplainable, but we designate it as such, as unexplainable or not yet explained, because we suppose we may eventually come to know it. We wonder because knowledge is possible. We ask questions only because we intuit that an answer is possible. Um, that's what all theories are about. And obviously, I'm a skeptic too, in the sense that the theories themselves must also be questioned um, continually because we're always discovering um, new features of reality, new ways of relating to the world around us, to nature. So, metaphysics is more than logic, especially more than binary logic. I mean, I think we've we've got to move on to at least a dialectical logic, where we recognize that reality is not broken up into these two irreconcilable um, substances. It's not dualistic. And so thought can't be dualistic either. Thought must be able to continually transcend itself by synthesizing formerly opposed um, opposites. And that's how evolution unrolls or unravels. Unravels is a bad term because it's winding up more. It's the history of thought seems to be moving in a direction of greater and greater understanding, I would say. All of the metaphysical attempts that have been made over the last few thousand years to situate the human being in the cosmos, I think have been steadily progressing. They've been deepening. Um, Today we have the opportunity to look back at all of these metaphysical systems and to recognize the path that this development has taken. And I think this allows us to come to some, pretty astonishing, not conclusions about the way the universe is, but it allows us to assume certain attitudes about the universe that I think we would greatly benefit from at this particular point in our history on planet Earth. In terms of, for example, ecological awareness. If our metaphysics is such that the universe is a living presence, and that the Earth is, a breathing being, a living creature, an organism on, a scale greater than any other organism that lives on its surface or, in its oceans. But still, science today, I think, is telling us that the Earth is, they call it a complex self-regulating system. That's just scientific jargon for a living being. And if our metaphysics is such that we are capable of being in the world in that way, living on the Earth as though it were our larger body, then ecological um, awareness and sustainable um, human economics would become second nature to us, right? So that's a practical benefit that comes along with a certain metaphysical position. Now, why would we even call this metaphysics anymore? Only because empiricism itself already assumes a certain metaphysical structure. So unless we are willing and able to go, behind the scenes of this method of scientific observation called empiricism, unless we're willing to see what that's built up out of, the unless we're able to see the substructure which appears on the surface as empirical science, unless we're able to see all the assumptions that are required before empirical science becomes possible, the assumptions about how the mind is related to the world and so forth, then we're just going to take empiricism for granted and say that it provides us with all these facts. Those facts are based on an interpretation of experience that can't be empirically proven. Um, and so I say we have to do metaphysics because there's always that layer underlying what's made explicit. And this is why I agree that because no logical system can be complete and consistent. Um, so logic obviously can't ever give us a final truth about the way the world is. I agree with that. But metaphysics is about allowing us to continually evoke um, a being in the cosmos that is true. Unless we can do metaphysics, then the human being can't relate to the cosmos truthfully. And that would be the point of metaphysics from my perspective, to find a way of um, thinking and being in the universe such that the human being is related to that universe truthfully. That's the point of metaphysics. And this is basically truth as a kind of wisdom, not truth as a correspondence between some idea and some object in the world. That whole framework would not be included in my metaphysics. Truth in that sense is not possible. And I think that's what you're saying, that there is no capital T correspondence type truth. The human being will never invent a conceptual system that exactly represents the world independent of the mind. And I agree, because I don't even think that's how cognition works. The human being is in the world. It doesn't represent the world. Our ideas are also in the world. And so the process of thought is the process of, when I think about things in the world, I, in a way, become those things. Cognition is participatory in that way. When we experience the world perceptually, we are becoming part of it. I see the sun because I become part of the sun. I see colors in the world not because they're there, or not because they're merely in my mind, my brain either. It's because when human eyes participate with light from the sun and all the other things in the world, color arises. But it's because of the relationship between me and everything else. It's not produced by the external or by the brain in particular. It's a participatory exchange. So metaphysics is supposed to produce an experience of that whole exchange in any given situation where you are able as a human being to be in the universe as it actually is. And obviously we're going to be trying to talk about it, and the root of logic is logos, which is the speakable truth about the universe, or the speakable order, the speakable principles that guide the flow of becoming, of the becoming of the cosmos. So metaphysics is still logical in that sense, in that it wants to be spoken, but it's ideally a speech that points to something that always remains implicit, which is the new situation that is constantly arising. That we are constantly moving into the future. Our theories are constantly having to be reconstructed. Metaphysics can only take place with the recognition that that's going to be, or that is how our experience in this unfolding cosmos occurs. We're always in process, and our thoughts have to keep up with the changing scenery. But I think we can. Thoughts can do this. We can still think and relate to the universe in a true way, in the highest sense of that term. So, yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. But thanks for the response, and I look forward to hearing back from you. Take it easy.